Civilians often think that cruising is expensive, and for some regular cruisers, it is. But that is because they have decided to make it expensive. If you're poor, like me, it can be as cheap or cheaper than staying at home. Today, I'll deep dive every cruise penny I spent in 2025. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we go! In this breakdown, I'll be including cruise fares, parking or transport to the port, specialty dining and drinks. I won't be including any shopping, money spent in port, or additional tips which are obviously optional. I will be including auto-gratuities which you can opt out of, but decent people don't. I'm not interested in why it's okay for you to opt out, just telling you where this breakdown sits. I travel solo, which most often means paying double, so these numbers more or less work for a couple as easily as a solo. The first trip of 2025 was a 7-nighter on Queen Victoria in January. It was booked too late for the really low fares and too early to be a last-minute bargain. There was some kind of promotion on, but I can't recall exactly what that was. Regardless, solo occupancy of a standard double balcony cabin was £1,638. This was the Cunard fare, so included free transport to and from Southampton on the Loser Cruiser. Because I like cheap fancy, I pre-booked 2 nights in Veranda, which is a pay extra restaurant. That was $117, which translated to £84.16 at the time. My barbell is always small. I only really drink water and black coffee. I'll occasionally have juice at breakfast, but that's included, and the odd Coke Zero or Pepsi Max. In 7 days, I racked up a whopping $26.50 drinks tab, which adds £19.08. And I had a rare trip to the spa at $49 or £35.25. Gratuities clocked in at $112, which is £80.56, to give a final bill of £1,857.05. Now, various disasters and calamities meant I was landlocked from January until May, when I took a 3-nighter on P&O Arcadia. I usually pay the cheapo fare on shorter cruises as the parking or coach isn't included anyway. But my spreadsheet says I booked select fare, and my spreadsheet wouldn't lie to me. That was £862 for solo occupancy of a standard ocean view. I couldn't get a booking for the steakhouse, and I don't really like Indian food that much, so specialty dining was $0. A few coffees and soft drinks was a massive £15.25. Gratuities are included on P&O, but I did pre-book internet access for £33.60. Parking with CPS was £98, so that trip tops out at £1,008.85. I followed that with 4 nights on QM2 in June. This time I paid the peasant fare. On a short trip, the only real benefit of the fancy fare is choosing your cabin, which I never bother doing anyway. I was solo in a standard inside atrium view. That's an outside cabin that's indoors, like camping in the spare bedroom. It was £838. Dinner in Veranda totaled £85.09, which included the cover charge at a discount for booking before boarding and caviar and lobster tail as upcharge items on board. I also ate at Bamboo, which was a mistake, at a cost of £23.53. Coffees and colas set me back £23.16 and gratuities came in at £50.69. I get some free internet with my loyalty tier, but I did have to top that up by £3.73. CPS was full, so I booked what is described on the website as a meet and greet, but actually it's a park and ride with a company called Lynx. That was £85.50 and decent. I've parked again with them since. The QM2 trip, all told, clocked in at £1,109.70, which was about £60 per night cheaper than Arcadia. I didn't even go on a cruise in July. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Come August, I was back on the water. First time from Portsmouth, first time with Virgin Voyages. Hopefully my last on both accounts. I mean, I've got another Virgin Voyages from Portsmouth booked for August next year, but fingers crossed I'll die before then. Anyway, horrors aside, this was the sleeper bargain of the year. It was a 6-night comedy festival cruise headlined by Jack Whitehall, but there were some good comedians performing too. For 6 nights in a solo inside cabin, it was £1,074 29p, which is pretty reasonable for what is supposedly a premium line. The dining is the main, possibly only real selling point. The food is rocking, and there are no specialty dining venues, so that clocked in at £0. I don't drink, and soft drinks were included, so my bar bill was just coffees when I was too lazy to schlep up to the buffet at £48.86. Gratuities are included, as is Wi-Fi, so another big fat zero there. I parked with CPS right next to the terminal for £105, giving me a grand total of £1,228 15p. Stay awake, there's only 3 to go. Princess binned me off in October and nothing else worked out, so I ended up booking a last-minute 2-nighter on Iona. I was on Iona last year for a week and I hated it, but I've retrospectively softened to it a bit. It had been a long time since my last P&O trip and I hadn't really paid attention to their repositioning in the market. Whilst it is a bit them, I think it was more about my expectations versus the reality. Anyway, as I've said before, a bad day in a half-inflated life raft is better than the best day on land. So with a choice between 2 nights on a ship that I hate, that was bound to be full of stags and hens, or no cruise in October at all, the stags and hens won. Peasant fare for 2 nights solo in a standard balcony cabin was £464. I didn't book any specialty dining, but 3 upcharge dishes in the MDR, which was £16.95. The coffee shop took £21 off me, gratuities were included, and Wi-Fi was £40. Parked on the waste ground under the flyover again with links for £46.95, making the total for this trip £571.95p. I made it 2 P&O in a row. A popo, if you will, in November, with 4 nights on Ventura. 4 people fare once again, and my first time in a single sea view at £668. I ate an Epicurean for £35, and you should too. And I booked the beach house and picked up a bill for £19.50, which you definitely should not. A bit of tapas in the glass house between second lunch and pre-dinner was £10.50. I went wild and had a glass of wine, along with the usual black puppies, pushing my drinks bill up to £23.10. And I promised a cat lady in the buffet that I'd have a go on an arcade game that she recommended for £1.50. Gratuities were included, and I spent £30 on Wi-Fi. Links parking added £60.95, which racks up a total of £848.55. Which brings us, you'll be pleased to hear, to the last ship of 2025, Ambition. Another first cruise line in Ambassador. From another new port, London Cruise Terminal, which is about as London as London Luton Airport. Sure, it's got the name, but not the location. This is actually 3 separate micro cruises ganging together to make a 6-nighter. Watch my upcoming Ambition videos if you care about the detail. I'll assume that you don't and treat it as one. The fare came in at £909.15. Speciality dining was £44.90. Drinks clocked in at £27.75. Gratuities were £35. Wi-Fi was £65.99. And parking was £29.49p. For an Ambition total of £1,112.28. So, here we are. The year is almost over and no more ships to squeeze in. I haven't skimped on anything or missed out on stuff that I wanted because of cost. And the year's total for all 7 trips is £7,736.53, which doesn't seem bad at all. I haven't got the patience to work out what I've spent on the rest of my life this year, but it's definitely more than that. So there's the proof. It's cheaper to be on a ship than not. That's just maths. I mean, you can't argue with maths, can you? I'm back on the water in a week or so on Queen Anne for the first of 11 ships in 2026. But until then, what cruising has cost me in 2025, done.